Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. Got my good friend Bob Kudla here with me. And guys, it's going to be a December to remember. It's going to be a massive, massive pump, we think, on the way. However, it comes with a massive, massive warning. You're going to see what we mean in today's video. Not going to want to miss this, guys. Let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Well, Bob, as we said, big warning here. This one stands out probably the most out of all of the warnings that we've been sharing with the folks. And again, not to confuse anybody, we're expecting a very bullish move up over the next coming weeks to kind of put a cap on what's been a really long secular bull market. But the warnings are really what we want to point out here. And I'm going to throw it over to you now, Bob. But this one, like I said, this one is, to me, jumps out the most.
Yeah. And, normally would say, hey, stock market and, Wall Street and Main Street, don't always fly together. But in this situation here, obviously, if people aren't working, companies aren't making money. And going into what Trump wants to do is he's basically trying to collapse import-export trade in the United States and create basically an internal hot box. So to drive velocity for the economy. So I could see job losses continuing into 2025. And with the stock market and job openings, they correlate together, Phil, very closely. And when you have another alligator jaws here, after we've had 2 years of just nonstop up moves, and I'll tell you, if you go onto X or anywhere else you want to go, if you mention any kind of pullback in the stock market, you treat it as some sort of pariah with leprosy. People are calling you an absolute idiot. They're saying you don't understand.
Right.
The statistics tell you this. Well, when everybody's leaning on one side of the boat, it could be problematic. Look, and everybody expected a huge move last week in the stock market, and even though we hit all-time highs, it was pretty benign. And this week we expect some sort of pullback. We're getting it in a lot of areas except for the NASDAQ, actually. And so we do expect a Santa rally. And the hard thing about this rally, Phil, it could end right at Christmas or it can go to the inauguration. It's one of those things where, pick your poison when you want to hop off the bus. Because if it starts to move, you won't know where the top is. But when a top formed, you're going to be, you may lose more than if you just start scaling out on the way up. And that's my plan. And I think you had a couple fib retracements, 6,100, 6,400. These aren't big moves. You're talking 5 to 7% here, maybe max.
Right.
And if you're willing to take that risk, hey, that's on you. I've been slowly getting more defensive as we pile through here. I'm still looking for the big Bitcoin move. We're having chart action here that basically suggests, the next move 99 to 106 and then 106 to 119 and then potentially your 1 week absolutely super blow up move. I think that's all still in front of us. But the NASDAQ is really struggling here. So Small caps, I think, if you want to make money in this move, I think small caps are to play. And Bitcoin related stocks are to play. Other than that, I would get more defensive, Phil. Do you agree with that?
I do. Yeah. And I think we have dispersion going on in the markets, meaning that we're going to get rotations from tech into probably small caps is what that means. And that's driven by derivative positioning. So I agree with you on all those counts. I think we have basically a market that is very close to a major top. Now, some people aren't disagreeing with a top that, say, coincides with the inauguration. In fact, that's a pretty common theme, is that we sell the news now. But what I think we're getting a not consensus on is that we would put in a major market top, given all the good news, right? All the good news in crypto, all the good news about what Trump administration wants to do with the economy, cleaning house, making things more efficient. But like you said, there's a cost to that as well. And initially, it's probably going to mean, it probably feeds into a recession. We already have a recession setup coming into this, and that's probably going to feed into that a little bit more. But at the end of the day, you have to get through this. I mean, forest fires are good, right? They clean the forest and they promote new growth. And if you don't do that, you're going to get a horrible forest fire that wipes out entire parts of states. And we've seen that in California a number of times already.
Yeah.
So that's what needs to happen, right? That's the analogy here, is we got to take our medicine. Unfortunately, we have a whole generation of investors now that hasn't been through what we saw in 2000, 2008. And I think it's going to rattle that investor class quite a bit. And they've gotten accustomed to a certain lifestyle as a result. And so I think you have to be extremely bearish on some of these services that cater to them, such as Uber Eats, things of that nature, right? These conveniences are going to be let go at some point. And I think they're holding on to them, right? They're driving up. We know the credit card debt is skyrocketing. We know personal interest payments are skyrocketing. A lot of that has to do with this younger generation holding on to these services because it's become such a staple and a normal part of life. But, anybody that's been around before then knows that those are ultra conveniences, right? It's not something that we typically had for many, many decades. You went to the store, you went to the drive-through yourself, right? Drive-through was a convenience. Now it's like not even that's a convenience. It's had someone go through drive-through for you to bring it home. So we've gotten like way, way, way out of bounds here. All that being said, I think that's what's going to create a pretty big pullback. And I think we're going to see some pain and some capitulation over the next 12 to 18 months. And so you have to be very careful here. But this job opening, like you said, alligator jaws, this is a massive, massive, massive divergence here. And job openings matter to the stock market. They normally flow together. Why? Because if we're not creating jobs, we're not creating consumerism, and we are a consumer-based economy. So this is coming, guys. This is coming without a doubt. And when it happens is up for debate, but it's close. I mean, like Bob said, do we top out December? Do we top out January? And then at that point, do we fall back into March? Most likely. Does March rally to a new high? Possible. Does it rally to a lower high? More probable. And then we get into the real teeth of a bear market, I think, for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I totally agree with that scenario. And whatever is going to happen here, it's not going to be a 1 or 2 month wonder too, because once you start changing culture in people, this could be multi-year, and what Phil's referring to, not just Uber Eats, you're talking about what I would call non-essential services.
Correct.
And when we were kids, nobody had their gardens done. Nobody had housekeepers.
Correct.
So there's a lot of things when you run out of money, you tend to find out that you could do a lot of things on your own, and I think we may re-recognize those skills within us, and you may not get any of those jobs back. So it's going to be really interesting to see, Phil. But look, guys, we're giving it a macro. We take this a week at a time. But, I know people, they tend to get out over their skis here, and I think it's time to be prudent. So scale out on the way up. You can always scale back in on the way down if you want a dollar cost average in. But a lot of people here are buying these breakouts, and usually those people end up broke.
Guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, we appreciate your views. And if you haven't already, check out our specials that we're running. Really deep discounts on our packages to get in the room. You're not going to want to miss navigating these markets over the next few weeks as we get into what's likely a long-term top. And then you really have to be on your toes as we start diving back down into a bigger pullback. All right, guys, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks again for watching. Take care.
Trade Genius.